This is Valley News Live at 5.
She has a roommate there that just lays curled up in her bed all day yelling, please help me, I'll pay you double if you please help me. And it's so sad.
A Fargo woman says the living conditions at the Manor Care Nursing Home on South University Drive are unbelievable. She's saying there isn't enough staff members to help with the people's needs, and that's why she contacted us on our whistleblower hotline. She has a family member staying there, and she says something needs to change. But the people at Manor Care say it already has. Valley News Team's Melanie Palmer explains what's going on at Manor Care Nursing Home and what lawmakers think about it.
It really smells like urine all the way down the halls, and some of them will sit in those wet depends, pretty much for half a day at least.
A Fargo woman is saying the conditions at the Manor Care Nursing Home are just plain disgusting. She has a family member staying there. She's lived there for several years now, and this woman contends something needs to be done.
These people are ones that raised us all and fought the wars, and now they're getting treated like this.
She says there's not enough staff members. State Senator Tim Matherin has a long history of advocating for behavioral health services, and though he can't comment on this particular nursing home, he says staffing numbers are low.
Rules and regulations aren't enough. We need sufficient staff members to attend to the daily monitoring and evaluation of our facilities.
He's also quick to defend nursing homes in the state. He says the overall conditions of nursing home facilities in North Dakota are quite positive, but he says there is room for improvement. We contacted the North Dakota Health Department and pulled the most recent inspection reports. The most significant complaint in here says the staff failed to provide necessary care for the residents. But we spoke with the Manor Care spokeswoman. She says that's not the case. And she tells us the facility is in full compliance with the state's regulations and they fixed any previous issues. In Fargo, Melanie Palmer, Valley News Live.
The Manor Care spokeswoman also tells us the facility has a 5-star quality measure rating from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. But a study from U.S. News ranked Manor Care as below average in a recent report. But as mentioned, this story came to us through our whistleblower hotline. So if you need help with an issue or you would like us to look into something, call us at 701-237-6576 and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth. Sunshine and slush for most of us this afternoon, but looking ahead to this evening, Hutch, will we be dealing with the calm before the storm?
Indeed we will, and the melting continues through the early evening hours as we've enjoyed some very mild temperatures for this time of the year. Many of us soared into the mid and even some upper 30s out to the west. 37 in Wahpeton and Fergus Falls, the high temperature. Likewise for Fargo. We made it above freezing in Bemidji and Roseau as well. It's a great day to get outside and clean off the last of the snow off of the driveway if you had a chance to. That continues into the evening. It will remain fairly cloudy. Our south wind will continue. That's going to keep us from falling too fast temperature-wise. But a major storm system out west is heading our way. And Wednesday, the weather could be downright dangerous. Right now, we have a winter storm watch. A watch is issued when a storm is imminent, but we still have details on the track and timing to nail down. Now, coming up here in just a few minutes, I'll go over the track and timing of this storm and let you know where we think the largest impacts will be and when they will be here in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Hutch.
You bet.
Well, we're following a developing story out of Clay County, Minnesota tonight. The sheriff's office is investigating a deadly crash between an SUV and a semi near Downer. It happened around 7:30 this morning on County Road 31 near the Grand Lutheran Church. The impact knocked both vehicles into a farm field. One woman died at the scene. The semi-driver was not hurt. Their names have not been released at this time. However, the Minnesota State Patrol is assisting with the investigation. And some good news tonight for people living in Park Rapids. They no longer have to boil their water before using it. City officials say a major water main break has been fixed and a boil water advisory has been lifted. The water main problem started last week, and that forced a repair that closed down a major intersection in town. It also forced Pelican Rapids schools to call off classes for today. A private security firm hired by the developer of the Dakota Access Pipeline will go on trial in the fall. for allegedly operating in North Dakota without a license. North Dakota's Private Investigative and Security Board sued North Carolina-based Tiger Swan last June. Tiger Swan was criticized by pipeline opponents for aggressive tactics during the months of the protests. The company says it's the victim of a smear campaign. The state board is seeking administrative fines that could total thousands of dollars. The trial is set to begin October 8th. A glimmer of hope in what's been a deadly day for people living in Southern California. An alert firefighter hears a faint cry for help, setting off a painstaking rescue from a California mudslide. Take a look at this incredible rescue video. Crews worked for 6 hours to free a 14-year-old girl trapped in what was left of her home in Montecito. Rescuers were checking debris piles in the neighborhood when they heard muffled screams. Rescuers had to meticulously move debris, trees, and pieces of her house, trying to prevent anything from shifting and crushing her. Emergency responders say the largest wildfires in the state's history made those conditions even more dangerous.
We've had the rains that have come in and brought down all the silt from the recent fire.
At least 6 people have died as downpours sent mud and boulders roaring down the hills in Southern California that were just ravaged by wildfires last month. Burned over zones are especially susceptible to destructive mudslides because scorched earth does not absorb water well. And that land is easily eroded when there are no shrubs. California Senator Dianne Feinstein went against the wishes of her Republican counterpart on the Judiciary Committee and released the entire transcript of the testimony of a key figure in the Russia collusion probe. Olengi has some of the highlights from the testimony from the founder of Fusion GPS, the firm that compiled the Russian dossier that claimed Russia as compromising material on President Trump.
More than 300 pages of transcribed testimony from Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson was made public Tuesday. Hello? Hillary Clinton's campaign hired Fusion GPS in April 2016 to do research into Donald Trump. Fusion GPS then hired this man, Christopher Steele, a former British spy, to investigate Mr. Trump's past. Steele compiled a dossier which claimed, among other things, that the Russians had compromising information on Trump. Simpson testified that Steele took his dossier to the FBI because he was concerned it could be a national security threat. Simpson said that the FBI believed Steele's information might be credible because they had other intelligence that indicated the same thing. And one of those pieces of intelligence was a human source from inside the Trump Organization. Senator Dianne Feinstein, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, unilaterally made the decision to release the transcript of Simpson's testimony. She wrote, "The innuendo and misinformation circulating about the transcript are part of a deeply troubling effort to undermine the investigation into potential collusion and obstruction of justice. The only way to set the record straight is to make the transcript public." The president and his allies have challenged the information contained in the dossier and have launched investigations into Fusion GPS's role in the campaign.
This investigation into Mr. Simpson began as a desperate smear campaign by Mr. Trump and his allies because of Fusion GPS's connection to the so-called Trump dossier.
The president maintains there was no collusion with Russia and the Mueller investigation is politically motivated. Mola Lenghi, CBS News, Washington.
White House spokesperson Sarah Sanders declined to comment on the release of the Simpson testimony, saying she had not yet had any conversations about the transcripts with the president. Joe Arpaio, the controversial former Arizona sheriff who received a pardon from President Trump, is now running for U.S. Senate. Arpaio seeking the Republican nomination for the seat being vacated by retiring Senator Jeff Flake. He was known for targeting suspected undocumented immigrants before being voted out of office in 2016. He was found guilty of contempt last year by a federal judge for violating a court order to halt immigration-related arrests. But President Trump issued Arpaio a pardon just days later. A rare event at the White House today as President Trump invited TV cameras to capture most of a negotiating session on immigration. A bipartisan group of lawmakers from both the House and Senate openly negotiated with the president. The most pressing concern is DACA, which Trump has ordered will end on March 5th. The Obama-era program defers deportations for young, undocumented dreamers. But the president says he wants a permanent legislative solution. But Trump and congressional Republicans made clear that security measures, including a border wall and reforms to both the visa lottery and the so-called chain migration, are mandatory for a DACA deal.